I believe I'm making a video. Yes, it's me, Inmendham, with a new fancy microphone. Anyway, yeah, pretty cool. Some kind of blue Yeti type thing that a viewer like you, well, not really like you, but sent to me. Very nice. So, should be an improvement. It stands to reason. Well, we'll hope. Anyway, where am I? Okay, so Amazing Atheist. So the argument from chaos is not our friend. He thinks chaos does something for us. If there was even such a thing as chaos, there's really just wrong answers, incomplete answers, foggy, messy answers. There's no such thing as anything against what we would consider to be good logic or good reasoning. There's just absolutely nothing to argue for here. There's not even art isn't even. There is no art of morality. There's no art of anything. Art is always a process of creation that has an ordered process. And yes, some people's art is what will sell, and they formula the art to sell it. So they make candy. And if somebody wants to feed people with their art, then they understand it needs to have a redeeming message. And so they formalize the redeeming message into the art. So again, there's no sense. The order of chaos doesn't even make sense as cramming those words together. And this is a book written. Somebody is doing a literary project attempting to defend an insanely stupid and insipid premise that somehow we should rely on some vagueness or some I'll let chaos solve the problem. Yeah, no, it's so an anecdote to meaning. Again, just we can only be this chaos thing can only work to make you get the wrong answers and to delude yourself into thinking you have meaning. Chaos is what retarded people have. It's the answer for a retard. It's not an answer for somebody looking for the truth. And he ought to be ashamed of himself to sell this kind of crap. But let's play along, since I'm here. And hopefully I can get the microphone volume correct, so I'm going to try to notice how high it goes when he's talking and see if it's the same amount. Yeah, I'll try to do that.
Chaos, An Antidote to Meaning, Chapter 2, The Art of Morality.
We better go a little higher.
Now you love me as a loser, but now you're worried that I just might win.
Gee, that's really
you
good.
You know the way to stop me, but you don't.
I can't even tell what he's saying. Very nice. It's all kind of romantic or something, right? If I was a chick, I'd be getting all ooh, hoo. But what's the point of this shit? Is this in the book? Whatever this is? DJ? Let's see. Good is a thing that you favor. Evil is your sour flavor. I mean, isn't that amazing? So he really thinks subjective impulses are all there are, and there's no such thing as doing a little bit of reasoning. So if I want to get home quick, I went to the bar, I drank too much, and I just want to go home. It shouldn't even enter my mind that it's illegal, but it shouldn't even enter my mind that, oh wait, that'd be irresponsible. Even though I'm drunk, I know, yep, that's bad, don't do that. That's a sour thought. So he doesn't think we have sour understanding or sour notions of responsibility to other people, and that's going to sour our fun. He's just an exploitionist, a disgusting exploitionist. And people gravitate to this. And they think it's because this is somehow smart, when it's profoundly stupid. Wrong answer, Dumbo. our wonderful music. You cannot sedate all things you hate. So again, why shouldn't I attempt to? Maybe I can't. Maybe I can't fix every pile of diarrhea in the world. But why shouldn't I try? Why don't I if I can make a pair of Pampers to control the mess, why shouldn't I do that? Why shouldn't I make every effort to make stupid benign? And that's what I hate. I hate stupid. And you're selling stupid, Dumbo. Shouldn't call you Dumbo. Should call you something more insulting. Because, you know, Dumbo was actually a sympathetic character in history. You know, it was history, wasn't it? Something like that. Little flying elephant. Yeah. So, yeah, you're worse. It's like, why did Disney use up all the dumb characters? There's Daffy, Goofy, Dumbo. I mean, you know, cunt. You stupid fucking cunt. Flappy, disease-ridden, you know, cellulite-covered cunt.
There comes a time in every thinking person's life.
Right, a thinking person needed all that crap. That, whatever that was. So you threw in your little subjective art crap, and you did it with what? Logic or your brilliant chaos theory that thinking people are influenced by that noise you threw in for free. No, thinking people aren't. Thinking people don't want that noise in their head when they're trying to think.
Usually in their teens, when they are struck, sometimes through a grim epiphany, sometimes through a slowly mounting aura of dread, by the utter meaninglessness of existence.
Again, an observation that doesn't make any sense at all. As long as, you know, if I'm paralyzed from the eyeballs down, okay, my life doesn't mean, okay, you can't hurt me, fine, whatever happens, happens, who cares? But, I mean, short of being in some kind of heroin bliss, there's no way you could say life is meaningless because it's happening to you even while you're thinking about it being lacking entertainment value, you could say. It lacks sufficient function, you could say. You could say lots of things about life, but saying it's meaningless would be preposterous when you're sitting there feeling it. Okay? So, where's the logic in this? Could you just explain how I could call it meaningless, like it was a pencil or something, when I feel? How is that possible? I mean, and that's just being so superficial. That's just recognizing that obviously the statement is really imbecilic when you consider you're on a planet with 7 billion other people trying to make some kind of sense out of their struggle, plus all the billions of animals. So yeah, let's say you're too stupid to figure out how all of that stuff and how it's organized means something. You're sitting right next to the maze, right, with a bunch of rats running in it. And you're really going to tell me it's meaningless. It doesn't matter whether they get fed, doesn't matter whether I throw a snake in there, doesn't matter what happens. What kind of imbecile? I mean, this is a point in when you're a teenager where the lead paint has destroyed your brain if you come to the conclusion that your life is meaningless. I mean, it still doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, you're just becoming you're reaching your sexual peak, and you're going to draw the conclusion that life is meaningless. What is that? It's stupid. It's nonsense. It's gibberish. It's rubbish. This is garbage philosophy.
It is never a comfortable moment, and all who experience it will deal with it differently. Often, it is our reaction to this first existential crisis that shapes...
That's you having herpes, I guess. This is just such a pile of shit. I mean, what the fuck? Existential crisis as you're reaching your sexual peak. You're horny as fuck. And you have a crisis of some kind? I'm sorry. No, the crisis is getting pussy. The crisis isn't... my life doesn't have any direction. No, there's a direction, and there's a pointer pointing right at it. Fuck! What a pile of crap!
Shapes and defines the rest of our lives. Some will entrench themselves in religious doctrine, searching for meaning in the bosom of a patriarchal creator figure who has bestowed them.
Yes, whatever. All that crap doesn't really happen either, okay? I mean, people usually get brainwashed into Santa Claus stories as a kid. They get all comfortable with fairy tales of talking bears and flying dragons and all kinds of mystical bullshit. And so, yeah, they revisit those in their desperate time. So as they get older, they just turn back into a fucking immature asshole and hope that Puff the Magic Dragon will come back and be their friend. And yeah, that's bullshit. But you don't need all this psychobabble.
With life, and who can also bestow that life with meaning. These people may become men or women of the cloth, or theologians, or at the very least develop an encyclopedic knowledge.
Oh, yeah, all this more extra rubbish words, men of the cloth, or or theologians, like there's a difference. Oy.
Of the scriptures of their faith. Most of these people will walk through life with strong words of
all those people were born into it, and you know it. So these aren't converts in any real sense of the word. 90% of them have been brainwashed from birth. This is how they live being human. They figured out how to make this into a sexual story they can enjoy. Whatever they've done to make this part of their reality, this always looking up to see if God's looking, and they're all kind of nervous, and it makes them all kind of excited or something. I don't know what it is, but yes, it's all quite perverse, but it happens to them when they're molested by this dumb idea as children.
Condemnation always spilling from their tongues. This is sinful. This is against God's will. This is an affront to my faith. They lobbed these sentiments as though they were Molotov cocktails of truth, burning down the world of vice and sin.
And some of them are true, actually. So, yes, and most of it, when you really look at it, it's pretty benign. 10 Commandment kind of stuff. You know, don't be a crook, don't be a thief, don't be dishonest. Wow, is that all that hard to achieve? Yes, apparently it is for scum nuts like you who are just going, what's in it for me?
Others, when faced with the specter of nihilism, will engender themselves with a strong sense of civic pride and will set to work trying to right the wrongs of the world through political action.
I don't even know. Again, so they're nihilist, and yet they recognize there's right and wrong, there's good and bad, and they attempt to create through some social justice mechanism social justice, and therefore they're silly. Why? Yeah, because they did something rational. But they certainly weren't nihilists, so again, more crap.
These people will become activists, politicians, social workers, teachers, or some manner of public service.
So again, throw all of those things together as if that has any connection. Politicians are obviously all lying scum crooks, okay? There's no functional principles involved for 90% of them, even probably more. Obviously, the politics wouldn't be so bad if they had any integrity, because they would try to pass laws saying politicians should have to be, they should have to wear an ankle bracelet. Politicians should have to be, they should be sting operated. We should attempt to trap them. We should always try to trick them into proving that they are crooks. Yeah, but the politicians are never arguing for political accountability, so clearly they're all in on it. So why are you throwing them in the group when you know they don't belong there? That's just a Nietzsche tactic, by the way. Nietzsche did that. Everybody was a communist. Everybody was Stalin. Everybody was some boogeyman. You know, because he always threw the boogeyman into every group.
They will devote their lives to making the world a better place, though oftentimes they find themselves completely disenfranchised later in life when the enormity of their task begins to crush their youthful exuberance.
Well, why don't you have an example of this, for example? Clearly, what was demonstrated in the 60s is there were a bunch of insincere assholes like you who just talked the talk but didn't walk the walk. I mean, as soon as the Vietnam War ended, everybody put on their fucking polyester suits and went discoing. So clearly, once the draft ended and their balls weren't on the line anymore, all the social justice just evaporated because they didn't give a fuck in the very beginning. They didn't care about any of that social justice shit. They were just doing the what's in it for me thing. And once their nuts were out of the trap, all of a sudden, let's become capitalists and cunts. Lying, fake, plastic people. So again, you're wrong. Your analysis is wrong.
Into the jaded antipathy of the defeated. Others will make it their life's goal to pursue knowledge, be it scientific knowledge or the musings of philosophers or the world of literature or whatever discipline best suits them.
Again, that's another misdescription of the reality. You can't put science and philosophy in the same category because the philosophy is all metaphysics and the physics is physics, supposed to be anyway. And there's a pretty big line dividing the two. One's a completely unsubjective analysis and one is full of subjective bullshit. So they're not the same thing. So if you want to say somebody starts pursuing truth is one thing, and anybody pursuing truth certainly knows philosophers probably don't have much of that.
The only discipline that ever suited me was a few whips and chains in the bedroom. These people will become the vaunted intellectual.
Right, so he threw in his subjective thing where, besides being mentally corrupt and incapable of doing good logic, I'm also a sexual deviant who has it all upside down. Instead of having somebody hug me and stroke me and call me lovely, I'd rather you beat the crap out of me. Because he's upside down. He's upside down blueberry pie, something, whatever. Should write that song. Upside down blueberry pie. No, I won't bother doing that. That was really bad. But I have to do something with this, so I'll have to play the violin or something.
Of society, the scientists, the engineers, the mathematicians, the historians, the writers, the philosophers, the architects.
So again, it throws them all in the same category when they're clearly not even anywhere related. Like I said, some people can be devoted to science and they don't even know who the hell's president of the United States. They don't know where they are, they have no relevance to anything real in the world. They're just doing their little nerdy mathematics or something. So completely different subjects.
So on. Most thinking people, when confronted with the unbearable weight of nihilistic reality and the existential...
So again, nihilistic reality, the unbearable weight of nihilistic reality. Where do you get this from? It is, on its face, an insane and insipid statement. There's no way I could agree with you as long as my body is working and I can feel good or bad. Nihilism is out of the question because my welfare certainly fucking matters. And I'm just saying it takes a tiny bit of thinking to realize that the other biological organisms that have, it's like almost 100% the same DNA, if we're going to use the ape example, it's really close, right? The differences are just tiny little differences in the DNA, and I'm supposed to think they're doing something entirely different, right? No, that would be idiotic. So again, this false premise that there's some existential mind trap that we all fall into where we realize there's no God and therefore nothing matters. When, how do you connect those two facts? There's no God and everything matters. It's just as agreeable logically. Fuck yes, everything matters. And there's no God to fix it, so we have to. There's no God that's going to be housekeeper and clean up the condo. So here we are doing the timeshare thing, sharing the condo, and there's no God to clean it up, so we have to clean it up. We are the ones that have to make sure that I left the place as good as I got it. Leave the place as good as you got it. There, is that too complicated? A moral edict? No, I don't think it's too complicated. It's just too fucking inconvenient for big, fat, gluttonous pigs. You are the pigs of Animal Farm. You are the pig, okay? All the pigs in Animal Farm probably, if you added all of them together, they would weigh as much as the Amazing Atheist. It's a scientific thing.
Potential crisis it prompts will somewhere find a path that they hope will lead them away from meaninglessness and into the warm arms of purpose.
So again, it's not meaninglessness that scares people. It's fucking cancer. So why are you pretending? It's not meaninglessness. It's the fact that they're, oh, I'm not very attractive. Or I'm 400 pounds overweight. Or I'll never get laid. Or I'll never have a Maserati. Or my life sucks. I have a shitty job. I make $10 an hour. That's what gets people down. So this pretense that everybody's tripping over the existential crisis. No, they're tripping over the fact that this life is a grindy, smelly pile of shit. We have been obliged to play a really bad civilization game. This is a really bad version of civilization. And we all should be a little depressed and you know, unenthusiastic.
Maybe the path is faith, maybe it's public service, maybe it's intellectual pursuits, or maybe it's something else entirely. But whatever the nature of the path may be.
Yeah, that's right. But the one path we all can do, even if you don't do the public service, you can understand it's a good thing somebody does. I mean, it's a good thing somebody cleans up now and then. So even if you're too lazy to do it, to not argue that it's a damn good thing that some people do it. I mean, you're just so despicably stupid.
The purpose of the path is always the same. An escape route from meaninglessness. When I was confronted with the meaninglessness of life, I was...
So again, it's somehow being intensely sensitive. You know, just, oh, nipple. Ooh, that's meaningless. It doesn't have any meaning. My sensibilities, the fact that I could be tortured or pleasured, is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. Either one is fine. I mean, this is just so fucking stupid. How does he get away with selling ideas that are this fucking stupid? This is, you know, he not only has an inverted fucking penis, his fucking brain is inverted.
I was 14 years old. I was living in Washington State. My father was in federal prison in Texas for tax evasion and conspiracy to commit mail fraud. My stepfather, whom I can...
Yes, who was a big preposterous crook, and you followed right in Fat Daddy's footsteps, quite obviously. Just another guy doing the what's in it for me thing and crumpling up money and throwing it at the guy making $10 an hour. The guy who was earning his fucking living rather than stealing it. So yes, so you became an advocate for liars and cunts. Fuck. You couldn't escape your breeding. You know, just like a stupid Islamic cunt. You weren't smart enough to say, oh, daddy was full of shit.
Considered to be a good man, was addicted to crystal meth, and his already hot-headed personality was exacerbated to the point of complete volatility. I will not relay...
Your mother didn't choose very well, did she? Jesus.
The extent of his actions during this time, other than to say that they were a great tribulation for his family, myself included.
Oh, yes.
He thankfully prevailed over his addiction after a few years and returned to his former self. My standoffish personality alienated me at home and at school. I had only one friend, a fellow fat kid named Jesse, who was a Star Wars geek with a...
Right, so this isn't anything about philosophy at all, right? It's just about your subjective personal experience. You have a petty hostility towards the civilization because the civilization allowed you to be hurt, and therefore civilization is crap. And so you're taking it out on the idea of goodness because goodness didn't come to the rescue. Fuck you, you're an idiot.
A lot of artistic talent. I had a crush on him, but it went unspoken and unexplored. He liked girls only, and I respected that, but it was still frustrating. I had no luck with guys or girls, both of which I was interested in. No one wanted my fat, zit-faced, awkward, standoffish, dismissive, asshole self to call their own. I can't imagine why not. It felt as if the trials of...
I'm not sure that's entirely true. They just probably weren't good enough for you. That's all. There wasn't all the ones that had "please molest me" signs on them. They just weren't good enough.
life were weighing heavily upon me, and it was impossible for me not to wonder to myself, what purpose does any of this serve? Why am I trapped in this?
Well, I mean, you should have figured out that, well, everybody doesn't live from your position, so obviously life itself maybe still has purpose, and your life doesn't have purpose. But yes, the more interesting philosophical question is to recognize that even the happy people don't have purpose, and they're not functioning very well. They could be very comfortable, like the little Trumpies and, the little Trumpy minions with their little tax cuts and their little greedy money. But they're still also zit-faced and fat-assed and smelly, and they have little wieners and all kinds of problems also that they're compensating for. They have to go drink their procedure or whatever to get their hair to grow or some other kind of bullshit. So they're obviously losers in the end, too. They're all going to get cancer and die. They're, John Wayne example. I mean, cut down to 110 pounds. That's the end for everyone. That part is a philosophical understanding, recognizing that, oh, this isn't about me being uncomfortable. It's about the fact that the game we're playing is really stupid, because even if you win, you're still gonna fucking lose.
State of being. What has brought me and my family to these circumstances? Father gone, stepfather insane, hormones raging, skepticism checkmating all sentimentality. And
again, so this is all just subjective personal shit where, like I said, any smart person at that age starts considering how everybody else is functioning. You could look at your sisters, or you could look at this, and you could look at that, and you say, oh, other people are doing okay. Why are they doing okay? Oh, that's right, because they're not thinking about this shit. So that's why they're doing okay. It's because they're not paying any attention to the fact that we're living a life that isn't going anywhere. I mean, it's just going to be satisfy the addiction.
A whole host of other problems that seemed huge then, but have faded into obscurity as time has healed their wounds.
Little whiny crybaby.
There were pragmatic answers to many of my questions, but they were not satisfying. Why was my father in jail? Because he didn't pay his taxes.
No, because he was a fucking crook. It's a lot worse than just not paying taxes. Okay, he was a fucking crook, a fraud, a fake, selling fake degrees. I mean, fuck. So don't lie about it. He was a crook. Tax evasion was just one of the dishonorable and indecent things he did to degrade civilization. He was just a fucking selfish, greedy menace. Playing your chaos game. Pretending it's too chaotic. I can't figure out right dollar from wrong dollar. Yeah, he could figure out right dollar from wrong dollar, and he didn't give a fuck. And that's the simple explanation. Too fucking selfish to be smart.
Well, why didn't he pay his taxes? Because he was greedy, and he deluded himself that he was invincible. Why did he feel that way? His ego was out of control. Why was his ego out of control? Because he had the ability to control and manipulate people. And after years of using it to great...
Yeah, exactly, right. He could take advantage of being a nastier than the rest of them. And so the rest of them didn't know how to deal with somebody willing to be nastier than they are. Yeah, exactly. Shit.
In effect, he naively began to imagine that his powers were without limit. Why was he so effective at this manipulation and control? Because he was smarter than everyone else around him. So he was in jail because he was too...
Again, smarter at what? Smarter if you're going to play the game that most people don't waste their neurons on. In the sense of they don't sit there and prepare themselves to be gamed by people in the world. They tend to want to play a fair game. And that's all he took advantage of, is the fact that most people don't want the inconvenience of having to background check everybody and figure out whether they're getting gamed by somebody. And he just took advantage of that.
Smart, and because he was too stupid. Useful realization? Maybe. Satisfying? Hardly. Why was my stepdad addicted to crystal meth? Because it made him feel good, and it gave him the energy to work long hours, which he needed to support his family. Why was all that weight on his shoulders? Because my dad, who used to take care of everyone, was no longer able to do so, and we've already explored the reasons why.
Well, yes, and he had to give the millions back that he stole.
No satisfaction there. No grand purpose, no divine plan, just a cocktail of human fallibility. Just a shitty world that was neither fair nor concerned. So the practical answers to my questions were crystal...
Well, again, these aren't very practical answers. I mean, crystal meth as a stimulant, that doesn't even make any sense. Who buys that argument? Oh, some of the most productive people in the world are meth addicts. Of course. No.
Clear. But on a broader level, on a meaning of life level, I could find no satisfactory answer. Religion was empty. The thought of a great despot in the sky to whom I owed my soul was no solace. And besides, I saw no shred of evidence that God was the truth. Christianity, the trendy religion of the time and place, was just...
So again, this is stuff everybody already knows. Everybody had to deal with. Okay, there's no God, now what? And the now what is, I feel, they feel, everyone feels. It's better for them to feel good, not bad. Ah, there you go. Try to make things feel good. Try not to make things feel bad. Wow, there. It's so complicated, isn't it? Oh, that answer is so elusive and so totally bizarre. Fuck.
Just a mythological construct designed to control people, much like every other religion that had existed throughout history.
Yeah, again, more talk about why it exists. It exists because people need comfort. All right? That's its power. This idea that it's manipulating somebody, well, you just have to read it to figure out manipulating them how, because the stories are so fucking convoluted and bizarre. In one place, it's endorsing rape. In another place, it's endorsing, you know, whatever, marrying your own kids. It has all kinds of perversions and bizarrenesses in it. So what are you even talking about? How does this control people? The only thing, again, people just gravitate to any story that's saying, I promise you that there's some reason you're doing this. Besides the fact that you're just a dumb addict. No, there is no other reason. You're a duck, ducks quack, sheep baa, turtles move slowly, birds fly, and people pretend life is functional.
At the age of 14, I had already dismissed the notion of God. His existence was neither practical as a reality nor desirable as a fantasy.
Right, I did that at 6, so, you know. I'm sorry, I'm twice as smart as you are.
My belief in God had the same shelf life as my belief in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, two entities that, unlike God, at least had something concrete to offer, presents and money. What did God offer?
So again, that's how he judged whether something was the right answer or the wrong answer, is how much money did it pay him. So again, he wasn't even smart enough to figure out that all the right answers don't include you get all the pie. So even though he had sisters, I know he has his brother, even though he had other siblings that had a welfare stake, I guess it never occurred to him that, oh, we have to do this sharing thing. Oh, I see. If I take all the pie, you don't get any pie. Oh, never occurred to him. Even at 14, he hadn't figured that out yet.
Peace in the clouds where you could go kiss his ass for eternity? No thanks. A sense of civic duty was foreign to me and remains so to this day.
So again, yes, foreign why? And the reason why it's foreign, that's the thing I'd like to get you to answer. Why was this obligation, this idea that you have some responsibility to the other feeling things on the planet, that their welfare stake, their comfort is just as valuable as your comfort, so why is it impossible for you to understand how that might be a problem? That's one of the problems of this universe, okay, is that it's not all about you. How does that how does that not resonate as, yeah, that's probably right. It's not all about me. So you're you know, well matured now, and it's still foreign. You can't see the logic in recognizing that it's not all about you.
Occasionally raise money for charities, including the Water Project.
What a liar, okay? I mean, it's just so full of shit. We already saw your blog on why you did charity, okay? You did it because it was to your advantage. There's no charity in it. There's no honesty in it. You were for profit. You're pretending to serve something for your own profit. That's not doing charity, for fuck's sake. Making money on the deal is not charity.
The charity that builds wells for people in Africa, and the International Women's Health Coalition, a feminist group that helps girls in third world shitholes where feminism...
Right, and he's saying all this like he actually gives them something and he doesn't get more by him endorsing it, in terms of he's buying himself credibility. This is his beard. And he thinks he's doing the... It's like some woman who ends up marrying the guy who's doing the beard thing. Like somehow you're doing her a favor by making her just a tool so you can play your game. Oh, you're so disgusting. Just so disgusting. You're just not allowed. Look, once you admit that you totally raped a charity, which you did after Katrina, you just raped 2 charities that I know of. You just raped them for your own purposes. Once you've been proven to be a rapist, you're really not allowed to do a sex show. Okay, you're done. You can't talk about any charity you do because you're suspect. And unless you demonstrate in some way how there's no fucking possible way that you made money on the deal, you can't use this, you piece of shit. Ugh.
Is actually needed. I have a low opinion of feminism in the West, but in nations where women are still consigned to the role of second-class citizens, I consider myself a staunch feminist. Though, I'm still fond of a well-constructed sexist joke, or even a poorly constructed one if I'm being drunk.
Right, so you're still fond of the fact that you really don't want to do this responsible civilization thing. You just want to just keep being loose and lazy and not pay any of the bills. And one of the bills we have to pay is that, yeah, we have to moderate some of our behavior if we're going to elevate the civilization, if we're going to, move it up, not down. And then we have to give up some bad habits.
Honest. I must be emphatic here, however. Although I can occasionally give myself over to a greater cause for a brief window of time, I could never sustain such an effort.
Right, you can't, it doesn't, it's not about a logical principle again. It's just about what he wants, what he needs, what he feels good doing, and that's all it is. If I'm not in the mood, it's not a principle. It's that pitiful.
In the long term, my hatred of the human race will always nag me into seeing the endeavor to change the world as a waste of my time. And I am therefore unable to engage my passions.
Right, so again, another excuse, just a convenient excuse. Oh, people are too hateable to give a damn about, so therefore I can exempt myself from not being a gluttonous, take all the pie. You're just making rationalizations and excuses to cause harm, to diminish the public welfare, merely because you wish to consume more. And that's all it's for. It's not because some big principle tells you there's nothing to reclamate here, when you know there is. You're just saying it because it's convenient to say it, and your fucking followers will let you get away with it because they're of the same mindset of selfish jokesters who wish to take no responsibility for their existence. Never grow up. You're just a big, fat, smelly turd of a Peter Pan. That's all you are. You're just you're a fucking Jabba the Peter Pan. They ought to make the movie. A big, giant, flying maggot comes into some kid's bedroom. Yeah, that'd be really funny. Yes, that's all you are.
To that end with any degree of sustainability. My misanthropy is too all-encompassing for me to feel inclined to devote myself to a life of service to the greater good. At the end,
and again, it requires no devotion, and you don't have to give up. You don't have to cut your arms and legs off. All you have to do is raise your hand now and then and say, I'm for it. I'm for it. I'm for social responsibility. I'm for people treating each other decently. I'm for honesty. I'm for, throwing more liars and shysters in jail. I mean, it doesn't require all that much effort to fix things that are broken. Even just mentioning them can help. Is that too much work for you? No. It's just not going to fit with your fucking style. So instead, you'll advocate for the exact opposite. You'll advocate for people running away from their responsibility instead of doing the responsible and decent thing, which is encouraging people to do more. Do the little tiny bit. A little tiny bit. So again, another Nietzschean lie where you take something that's really simple, requires you to sacrifice nearly nothing, and turn it into, oh, I have to devote myself. No, you don't have to devote yourself. There's no huge devotion required not to fart in somebody's face.
Age of 33, my misanthropy has only grown more powerful. Often I find it painful to exist with this seething contempt for my own species broiling and churning within me. But I have found no effective remedy for this condition. I have instead found ample causes to...
So again, I would agree that you are contemptuous. I likewise am stuck in the condition of being quite contemptuous of you ignorant shitheads, you fake intellectuals pretending it's smart to be a nihilist or smart to be an advocate of chaos or smart to say we shouldn't add 2 plus 2 and figure out, oh shit, it's not all about me. 2 plus 2, yeah, it's not all about me. I mean, it's just such simple mathematics, and yet you can't get the right answer. Bullshit. You don't want the right answer. You're the contemptuous pig.
Exacerbate.
You're the contemptible. You're the... It's probably some other word, adjective, whatever, adverb, some whatever, one of those grammar things, where he is full of the thing that is contemptuous. Yes.
Despite the suffocating grief I incur as a result, hatred of humanity is rarely a satisfying hatred. It's a bleak, depressing, disappointed hatred that often is just a stopgap for the tears I want to shed for my fellow man and for myself.
So he wants to shed tears for his fellow man that he has contempt for. So that doesn't make any sense. So obviously, you don't shed tears for the Nazis when they're knocking on your door and all that kind of crap. And so that doesn't make any sense. There's an active war here. You're sitting there taking the side of chaos against the side of realize that you're more than just a drug addict here. You got more of a role to play than being a fool and a video game player, that you're alive and you're on a lifeboat with a lot of other people, and your role shouldn't be to make things worse.
So when I was faced with the inevitable existential dilemma that all thinking people face, my 14-year-old self could not retreat into religion and slap the God Band-Aid across my psychological wounds.
We've already done that 3 times now in this one video. So again, this putrid excuse that because there's no God, all of a sudden we can't figure out that there's meaning in our existence, that our existence will have an impact not only on ourselves, but all the people around us, and everybody potentially on Earth can be impacted by your presence and your contribution. And instead, you just want to make the place dirtier and smellier and take all the pie. You're just such a pig.
Nor could I transform myself into a do-gooding crusader who seeks fulfillment in making the world a better place. I could not find faith in a...
So more garbage that this has something to do with finding fulfillment. Again, somebody realizes something's broken. I mean, somebody's not finding fulfillment if they see a girl trapped under a gas truck and it's on fire, and they say, well, there's nobody else to do it, so I'll go do it. I'll take the chance. They're not going to be totally they're not going to have some expectation that they're going to get out this unscathed, that they're going to get rewarded for their work. So I'm just saying, most of the people doing real charity are going down in the coal mine, to bring us the energy and all that kind of crap. They're not winning. They're being compromised to do it. And you're insulting their efforts while you're not even willing to make the tiny effort of saying thank you to those people, saying thank you to the heroes. You won't even make that tiny effort. Instead, you'll malign them. Amazing. So you can't say thank you, and all you can say is you're just a fucking asshole, a dupe, because you could figure out that maybe you have a responsibility while you're here to maximize your function, to take your presence and make it improve things.
Cosmic despot that defied reason, nor could I see why such a horrible species as humanity deserved a better world in which to live. So, what of science? What of intellectual pursuits?
Well, there's obviously, you don't have any of those. You can't do intellectual if you can't figure out that the baby's being born tomorrow didn't ask for it, and they didn't make the bad decisions. They didn't program their parents the wrong way. They didn't do any of that shit. Now, they're going to end up being monsters. They're going to turn into septic Frankenstein douchebags, all right? But it's not in them at the beginning. We're the one making them into that. People like you are making them into that. You're not helping them. You're hurting them. This isn't positive programming. It's insanely negative programming.
I knew early on that I could never be a scientist. Although I have tremendous respect for what scientists do, my mind doesn't work like theirs. A scientist sees things in absolutes and they're diligent.
It's just a pile of shit. It's more excuse making. He didn't want to do the work. That's all. It's just excuse making, just a rationalization to make an excuse for why I was a failure. And instead of just admitting because I was lazy and I didn't want to do the work and I didn't want to have to jump through the hoops required, I just copped out. And so instead of admitting it, he just makes up this lie.
In their search to uncover new facts about the world. They are meticulous people, patient, and willing to devote mountains of time to exploring every...
Bullshit. I mean, that's all bullshit. I mean, most of them are totally incompetent. You'd actually be a much better scientist, TJ, on the show, than most of them, because they're not fundamentally intelligent. They're creating, they're mimicking intelligence. They don't have any. Okay, they have very poor reasoning skills. Many of them. A lot of them.
Facet of a new problem. In contrast, I see things in shades of gray. I give up easily when something is difficult, and I find the meticulous attention...
Right, so just say that instead of this other bullshit. Just say that, yes, I didn't want to do the math, I didn't want to do this, I didn't want to... They all require me to do this stuff I don't want to do, so I didn't do it, because there was elements of it that were unfun. And I want to do things that are fun.
To detail that a good scientist must possess to be a tedious and frustrating burden. I am interested in the results and conclusions of science, but the process of doing science would absolutely bore me. Engineering and mathematics would carry with them similar problems. I have a great affinity for intellectuals, a small affinity for activists, and almost no affinity for the religious. But ultimately, they all seek the...
So again, he has some affinity for activists and yet claims this excuse of nihilism. So again, doesn't make any sense at all. Just complete rubbish, stupid, silly. And again, he should be thanking them. He should just admit, I'm too lazy, thank you for being better than me.
The same thing. They seek out the truth. that which Friedrich Nietzsche described thusly.
Ah, good, a Nietzscheism, right? Because that's all this is, right? This is all just the using the Nietzsche excuse, the Ayn Rand Nietzschean, be a selfish cunt. Selfishness is good. Yes, it's the invisible selfish hand, and you eat all the pie and everything will be so much better. Trust me. No, it won't. Stupid, dumb, selfish fucks.
What then is truth? A mobile army of metaphors, metonyms, and anthropomorphisms. In short, a sum of human relations.
Right, so it's not true that I feel, even though I know it's true, right? It's not true that I know that I have scheming intelligence, that is, what's in it for me intelligence, and I have system intelligence, what's in it for the system, which will make the rat maze thing work better. How can I reduce the number of fatalities on the highway? That I can do both kinds of reasoning. Reasoning in my self-interest, reasoning in the interest of the function of the civilization. Both well within my capacity. So Nietzsche was stupid.
Which have been enhanced, transposed, and embellished poetically and rhetorically, and which after long use seem firm, canonical, and obligatory to a people. Truths are...
Let's understand. So all that just sounds just like gibberish, right? Let's understand what Nietzsche was. Nietzsche was, I want it now, ended up with syphilis, tried to force a woman to love him, and died, feeding biscuits to a horse. Died recognizing, essentially, okay, that there was great meaning in the comfort of that animal. A complete denial of his entire previous philosophy. If Nietzsche could have written one more book, it would have been the book that said Nietzsche was full of shit. Yeah, because I think Nietzsche figured it out.
Are an illusion about which one has forgotten that is what they are. Metaphors which have worn out and without sensuous power. Coins which have lost...
So that means something to somebody. That gibberish ties up into some sort of 2 + 2 = what? 57. What is that? How is that a... It's not a cliche. How is that a meaningful Three Bears story? It's not a metaphor. It's not an analogy. What is that mush? Oh, that's right. It's a convenient bit of gibberish to pretend you have a rational argument defending your stupidity.
Lost their pictures, and now matter only as metal, no longer as coins. We still do not know where the urge for truth comes from, for as yet we have heard only of the obligation imposed by society that it should exist.
Yes, right. And truth is just a puzzle, like any other puzzle, so we know where the desire comes from. First, we know that the truth will set you free from making errors, obvious and stupid errors. So if you know the truth that quicksand, don't fall into the quicksand because you could drown. Don't swim in the quicksand because you'll drown faster. You can know some truths, and those truths could save your life. Float and, wait for the wind to blow you to the side. I'm just saying the truth will save your life. The truth will make your life more comfortable. Knowing how systems work is obviously something valuable, and we value it. We're horny for that. Control. Truth gives you control. Very valuable. So that's the addiction. We know that that's where our attachment to it comes from. So why this mystery? Why Nietzsche pretending, well, we don't know why we give a shit about the truth. No, we give a shit because it cleans the condo. The truth actually makes our lives better. Knowing how much gas is in the car is really convenient.
To be truthful means using the customary metaphors. In moral terms, the obligation to lie according to fixed convention, to lie herd-like in a style obligatory for all. Friedrich Nietzsche, on truth and...
Yes, so that's exactly his minions. TJ's just preaching to a bunch of assholes who want excuses to be fat, lazy, smelly, ugly, rude, obnoxious, just pukish in any general way. Just completely obnoxious to a sense of obligation and a sense of competitive responsibility. They don't want to play in the real world Olympics because they know they suck at it. They suck at being decent. They suck at being of investing any energy in any real sense of responsibility. They know they've spent no time preparing for that game. They've practiced in no ways. They have no skill, so they run away from that real game and play their little fake, selfish, nihilist Nietzsche game, just as Nietzsche did. He was a huge, gigantic, preposterous failure, just coming up with fucking rationalizations for the mess he had made of his existence.
Lie in an extra moral sense, the Viking portable Nietzsche, translated by Walter Kaufmann. What Nietzsche is saying there, when boiled down to its simplest terms, is that truth is a social construct, that our conceptions of truth are little more than truth.
So again, just more complete, preposterous exaggeration. Yes, there are some elements of our understanding of reality that have been imposed by civilization or culture or by the rich. You know, they talk about the death tax, or we already paid taxes on it already, even though it's new profits. We already paid taxes on our new profits. Well, no, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, even though, yes, the working man's income is the same as the stock investor's income, you know, it was taxed just as much. We're just going to treat theirs half as bad. So if you didn't have to go to work to make your money, you get taxed at half the rate. Yeah, so there's gimmicks, and there's nonsense, and there's evil, malicious lies all over the place, pretending to be the best answer. Put the solar panel on the roofs. Not the best answer. The wrong answer. Stupid answer. Right? So there's lots of stupid shit out there as memes and as notions and as traditions. But there's just as much perfectly rational opposition theory. And again, the only obligation is to raise your hand and vote for the rational theory. Nietzsche instead said, I don't want to play that. I don't want to play social responsibility, so I'll make the excuse that all truth is a lie. All sense of obligation to your fellow feeling creatures is a lie, when it's obviously the truth. It's an obvious truth that making a broken leg go to your neighbor instead of you, okay, doesn't improve the world.
Traditions that have been puffed up with rhetoric and metaphor to give them an artificial weight and gravity. I have more than once bored my audience to death by reading to them from a poem by Stephen Crane. It goes like so.
Oh, crap. Poetry now. Silly fucking gibberish. More little gibberishly sloppy little chaos words. Saying this is somehow more true than the simple argument that we're all feeling creatures, we all have a welfare stake, and we need to responsibly distribute comfort. Gee, that's the fucking truth.
Truth, said a traveler, is a rock, a mighty fortress. Often have I been to it, even to its highest tower, from whence the world looks black.
Nobody climbs down from the top of the maze and goes back playing the game. So I'm just saying these metaphors that, oh yeah, I've been to the truth, I found it wanting and decided to go back to being a selfish cunt. No, you climb out of the maze, you see the rats chasing their own tails, and you don't go back and start chasing your tail. Once you know how to add 2 plus 2 and get 4, you just can't do the 2 plus 2 equals 6. 2 plus 2 equals 6. You just can't do it. Once you know the right answer, you can't go back to the wrong answer. So again, these are people living in the wrong answer, and they're just, again, trying to rationalize, saying, oh no, I've been to the truth, and no, yeah, it was completely, so it was a mess there. The truth was sloppy as fuck. That's just Nietzsche rationalizations. The truth will get you nowhere. It will not set you free. You can't make anything better. You can't fix anything. Everybody who ever tried was a politician and a crook and a Mother Teresa or some other bullshitter. So, yeah, you fail. Don't do any of that. Don't try to be a responsible, decent human being, because everybody who tries to be one fails. Bullshit. Just absolute convenient bullshit. Selfish cunt bullshit.
Truth, said a traveler, is a breath, a wind, a shadow, a phantom. Long have I pursued it, but never have I touched the hem of its garment. And I believed the second traveler, for truth was to me a breath, a wind, a shadow, a phantom.
So all of this bullshit, again, to evade such an obvious fact. I feel my feelings aren't special. They're not uniquely more important. They have no constituent about them that makes my satisfaction more important than any other brain that's satisfied. That harm is harm is harm is harm. Torture is torture is torture is torture. Wherever it manifests, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter whether it's in me or it's in them. And it's quite obvious that if I can endure a little tiny bit of inconvenience, a little bit of a frickin' sore little fingernail, and I can cure somebody else's cancer with that little inconvenience, that I should do it rationally, logically. It makes sense. This isn't a complex equation. You shouldn't shit in other people's drinking water. Not complicated. It's a truth. You shouldn't shit in other people's drinking water. It's not a wind. It's not a vaporous idea. It's not ungrockable. You can grok it really easy. You know, all a pile of lies. The truth is complicated, or the truth is elusive, or the truth is, you know, transparent, and you can't hold it. Bullshit.
And never had I touched the hem of its garment. Stephen Crane, The Black Riders and Other Lines, 1895.
Stupid fuck.
We live now in an age of three basic competing truths. The truth of God, religion, the truth of good.
So again, he calls these things truths when they're clearly just theories of fact. So it's a theory that it's a fact that there's a God. Now we already know that theory, that that's a truth or a reality, has no evidence and is preposterous. So on two scales, it's out the window. It's going the wrong way on two different scales. No evidence and silly. All right, now he just mentioned decency or something, or whatever it was. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes the world a better place. Do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. You don't need a religion, don't need a God to tell you to do that. Just a perfect little piece of logic. Okay, you want the world to be a better place? Then treat the world that way and see if it treats you back. And even if it doesn't treat you back, the point is you made the world better. You functioned. If somebody else doesn't function, that doesn't mean the function you did didn't work. If you help the old lady across the street, yeah, okay, if some mugger mugs her later, okay, it's bad, but it doesn't change the fact that at least you didn't get run over in the street.
Morality, and the truth of science. There may be disagreement as to who God is and what good is, and even some argument.
See, people don't even understand. Again, they keep doing this. You know, this idea that science and philosophy are the same thing. No, science is the main category. Okay, the scientific method. That is doing logic, collecting facts to demonstrate and to prove a conclusion. That's doing science. Philosophy is a version of science. Physics, chemistry, biology are another version that are very mechanical, and this is the more about the intangibles, the non-material truths. Two-ness. Two-ness is kind of a non-material truth.
over what science is empirically valid, but almost all overarching truths, the big truths that people cling to, fall neatly into these three categories. You can even see science and religion.
Again, more bullshit, right? When clearly you don't need any dogma, you don't need, and it's just perfectly logical to recognize my feelings are damn important, I'm sure of that. It's really important that I don't have a nail in my eye, really important. And all I have to do is draw the logical conclusion that for a cupcake, I shouldn't stick a nail in somebody else's eye. For some mere convenience, I shouldn't cut somebody else's arms off. I shouldn't exploit the fuck out of somebody. I shouldn't put somebody else at jeopardy. I shouldn't do anything to encourage the rapist and the pillagers. I shouldn't make victims. What's so hard about that? What's so hard to understand?
Fighting about which of them dictates morality, with religion claiming that scientific morality cannot be objective and is therefore useless, while science claims that religious...
So again, it's not an empirical fact. I know it's to be a fact above argument that I feel, and that my feelings are decidedly in the good and bad category, and that it matters a lot that I don't experience too much bad. That's really important. The least bad, the better. And that's there's no way you're going to be able to present any evidence that demonstrates that somehow it doesn't matter whether I'm tortured or I'm comforted. What's going to be your argument? How are you possibly going to make it rational to me to say it doesn't matter whether I'm tortured or not? How could that ever be rational? And once I've accepted that as an undeniable truth, a truth that just can't be refuted, the simple logical step is merely conceding that the other characters here on Earth are doing exactly what I'm doing fundamentally, and that their welfare has exactly the same amount of importance. Their harm is just as bad as my harm, and the harm is the enemy. What's so complicated?
Morality is regressive and based on unfounded myths. People, regardless of where they derive their truths from, are determined that truth is a rock, never merely a breath.
So again, this idea that there are these, that we can't distinguish between hard evidence and weak evidence, when of course we can. That we can't, figure out that something's been established by, like evolution, for example, by many different vectors of evidence, that's been confirmed in so many different ways that it's just beyond rational contention. You just can't dispute it and be rational. Of course those kind of facts exist. And again, he's just, for his own convenience, trying to just muddy the water, stir up the sediment of bullshit, muddy the water so he can make you see what isn't there, which is the fact that the truth is elusive, or the truth is complicated, or the truth isn't right there in front of us.
A subjective world where there is no mighty fortress of truth to plant your feet is disconcerting. Well, then
it's molesting. That's all it is. It's molesting. It's victim creating. Our base nature is not built by Albert Einstein or any scientist or any decent Carl Sagan or any decent person who ever lived. Our design, or the Dr. Frankenstein that made us, is not a doctor. He didn't have any education. He doesn't have any ethics. He's a serial raper and killer. That's what nature does. That's not the source of our. Listening to that God, all right, is worse than listening to one of the cartoon gods. No doubt about it.
Tell me the honor of being the decomposer of this disconcerto. God isn't the truth. He is a fictional construct of man. as evidenced by the mountains of discarded gods that overflow the garbage bin of history. It is further evidenced...
Right, this is all duh. But, you know, his argument that nature's the truth, okay, is just as vacuously stupid. That nature has... that somehow it's more capable of understanding the system and how to maximize the function. That somehow nature will fix your car. No, it won't. It'll kill a bunch of stuff on top of your car. It won't fix it.
By the contradictory nature of an all-powerful and all-knowing and all-wise being who creates
blah, blah, blah.
faulty humans and then blames them for their imperfections. It is further evidenced by the fact that much of what was once attributed to God, we now have naturalistic explanations for that are far more satisfactory and for which there is much greater evidence.
Right, and this Peterson asshole that he's actually arguing with essentially is doing that. He's doing the Spinoza thing to some extent. He's saying, let's just keep the good little metaphors and little fun stories, and let's kind of throw out all the snake charming and, you know, raining toads and all of the mystical bullshit.
Evidence. I could write a book on all the reasons why I don't believe in God, but several authors like Richard Dawkins, Victor J. Stenger, Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris, and others have already done so, and their books are more than sufficient reading on that particular topic. Science...
Yeah, I don't think they are, actually. Because, you know, frankly, I mean, Sam Harris nudged against the subject, you know, when he dealt with the fact that the moral landscape. But clearly, many of these atheist writers never do account for the fact that we should have, from the very beginning, what we lacked because people had this false notion of a janitor in the sky. That God would create fairness, that God would see that deserve happened, that God would make things right. Having that fake umpire, that fake janitor, gave mankind an excuse not to take the responsibility to recognize we have to clean up the game. Just like we clean up baseball, or we clean up football, or we clean up basketball, or we clean up soccer. Just as we have rules about steroids in the Olympics. We have to fix those games. And we don't fix this game because too many people are looking or waiting for God to do it. And that's a big fucking mistake. And you're part of the assholes in the crowd saying, I want to throw my beer bottles at that foreign player. You know, I want to break the rules. I want my guy to win. And I don't care if he takes steroids. I don't care if he cheats. I don't care if he puts cork in his back. I don't care if he puts spikes on his shoes. I don't want a fair game. I don't want to prove anything in an honest way. I want to cheat. You're just a bunch of fat, rude cheaters. A bunch of hecklers. You're too lazy, you know, to get yourself a stage. And instead you'll steal somebody else's.
Though it is to be respected, is not the truth. Science creates predictive models of reality that are deemed useful if their predictive powers are demonstrable. Newtonian physics are the...
More crap that the fucking science proves something because they predict something, so they get the right answer for the wrong reason, and that somehow proves it's the right answer? No, it doesn't. It doesn't validate your diagnosis of the causes and effects merely to produce a prediction that was maybe 50-50. I mean, it's just silly. And there's it can be clearly demonstrated that this illusion that somehow science did that when it didn't. They never predicted anything. It just didn't happen that way.
Truth in that we can use them to understand the properties of reality, but with the discovery of the quantum world, quantum physics began to develop as a new and more precise predictive model.
Again, a big pile of propaganda crap. So another subject for which TJ has no knowledge except what he's been fed. So he's been fed crap and he's bought it, just like a religion. He's just as lazy in that he hasn't gone out and looked at the evidence himself. He's just trusted that all those nerds must know what they're talking about. I mean, they look how many pockets they had to soil with their ink. So gee, they must know what they're doing. No, they're stupid nerds, for fuck's sake. You wouldn't let them run the world, because you know they're idiots.
We still use Newtonian physics in most instances because it's precise enough to be useful in quantum.
Yeah, that's not the reason. It's not that it's precise enough to be useful. It is that it doesn't have the garbage in it. Okay? It's not that it's not the complete answer, but it's not the wrong answer. Where the new physics has lots of shit in it that maybe isn't true. Lots of maybe that's not quite right. It has a lot of maybe that's not quite right in it. So yes, if you have a choice to eat something that definitely isn't poison, or you have a choice to eat something that's a little sweeter and a little fancier, but it could be poison, yeah, rationally you say, I'm just hungry, so I don't care. I don't need it to be fancy. I'll just take the safe bet.
Physics still has a way to go. There's not even a quantum theory of gravity yet. But a model that explains why you like chocolate ice cream is not the same thing as chocolate ice cream, or your experience of it. Perhaps science...
So now he's going to talk about experiences. Well, the nihilist should think that word is silly, because it doesn't matter what you experience. Because experiences are only value laden. They're the only thing that has a value component is an experience. If something doesn't have an experience, then whatever just happened that didn't cause an experience couldn't possibly have meaning. But as soon as it causes an experience, okay, then it's meaningful. Duh. I mean, again, that's just such 2 + 2 = 4 math, and the fact that you idiots can't get it right is just fucking incredulous. There's no way to believe that you can't figure it out. You just don't want it to be true, and you're going to do everything you can to sabotage those facts. Just out of selfishness, just because you're such an oinky pig.
This will one day ascend to the level of truth, but for now it is merely a methodology whereby we can have a greater understanding of the world through a system that is minimally dependent on human bias. But here's the big one. Here's the one that religion and science both fight over, like two dogs pulling at different ends of the same toy, each hoping to jerk it away from the other. Here's where things get...
I don't even know if they're hoping. They're just enjoying the contest. It's a contest. They're in the fight. They want to win the fight. That's it. Period.
Messy and people get upset. Good isn't the truth.
Right. So again, good isn't better than bad. A nail in your eye is just the same as having a nice yummy cupcake. You're a fool if you think there's a difference between you having a wonderfully comfortable experience or a horribly unpleasant experience. You're an idiot if you think there's a difference. I mean, this is just so fucking retarded. And the fact that your fucking, your Coca-Cola generation can't figure this out, are too stupid to realize you're just talking absolute fucking shit. I mean, this shit is so obviously shit. Come on, I can't figure out that there's a huge difference between a nail in my eye and a yummy cupcake? Bullshit, I can't.
Morality isn't the truth.
Again, morality is the word connected to dogmatic edicts, but morality in the sense that you have a responsibility to the other sentient organisms on this planet. Yeah, that makes perfectly good sense. Of course I do. I have a functional responsibility. I have an obligation to be minimally efficient in my function. These obligations, we see them all the time. We know them. You know that if you see the little wires on your tire and you can see that it could blow out any second, that you maybe shouldn't take your 4-ton vehicle out on the fucking highway and kill people with it. We know these things. We know how not to fart in other people's faces. So again, just more bullshit that we can't see the difference between being an irresponsible, reckless cunt who throws dioxin in the Great Lakes and somebody who pets his dog. Yeah, we can see the difference between those two son of a bitches. Fuck. Again, coming from a guy who has inherited his father's ideology of fuck 'em. If you can make a buck on it, throw the dioxin in the Great Lakes. That's his fucking ideology. That's his philosophy. Selfish, lazy, fat fuck.
It is a pliable system of behavioral controls designed to...
Again, more of this, it's a fucking... The Jews are trying to control us with this idea that we're a functional device and that we have to be minimally sufficient and sufficiently efficient in our function. We have to be sufficiently efficient. It's a Jew conspiracy imposed on us by a bunch of fanatic lunatics. You have an obligation to be minimally functional. Fuck. No, just take your heroin, kill the whore, rape the whore, then kill her, take your heroin, and have a nap. Good life you live there.
Subdue behavioral traits that are, for the moment, considered unfashionable.
Oh, I mean, for the moment unfashionable. What? To steal, to lie, cheat, steal, impose, exploit, rape, pillage. Bullshit. Again, just absolute bullshit. We can't figure out. No, bad idea.
Morality is every bit as subject to the temperamental whims of humanity as fashion or diet or decor or...
What, again, a big pile of shit. Mankind has always known the cupcake is a lot better than the nail in the eye, and they've, since at least the advent of fire, they had some hope of realizing that for a cupcake, they shouldn't stick a nail in somebody else's eye. That's been within their grasp. The simple logic that, yes, my little tiny convenience shouldn't come at somebody else's life-threatening horror. Oh, duh. My convenience of driving home drunk, again, shouldn't put other little peoples at risk of being horribly, having their heads decapitated and their children orphaned and paralyzed. Duh. I mean, fucking duh.
Slang or any other human frivolity. Homosexuality.
So again, it's about a frivolity. When no, global warming isn't going to be a frivolity. All right, the expanding deficit isn't going to be a frivolity. Okay, the consequences of these selfish, gluttonous behavior that has compromised the future dramatically, it will not be a frivolity. All right, so anyway, and probably enough for this segment. And we got 17 minutes of this shit, but it is just it's a fucking one line of crap after another. I mean, every fucking sentence is a distortion and a perversion of reality. Just a bunch of nonsensical gibberish, a bunch of, again, Nietzsche-driven rationalizations for being a fucking cunt. And that's all this is about. This is so anti-intelligent. It's anti-logical. This is an attack on the very thing that would save us from religion. Cunt. But anyway, so enough. So till next time and such. And so enjoy the new vocal fun and such. I will have to try some experiments, doing something interesting, maybe taking advantage of this anyway. So thank you. Yeah, I don't know whether he'd like to be mentioned or not. I mean, I'll just get trolled for it, so it probably won't do him any good. But anyway, nice guy. Thank you. And such. Again, it's just obvious, right? Now he could selfishly say, oh, I could have bought a hooker with that money. He could selfishly have improved his own life, and he improved mine. And clearly there's a benefit to it. I'm pleased. And that has value. And we can all recognize that. We can all see the value of doing something that doesn't take us, no skin off of us, and it could be helpful to somebody else. And we all know that's out there. And I'm not asking you to actually be a giver. I'm just asking you to deny this rubbish that there's anything logical about advocating for anything else. That there's some reason to make people think it's okay to be a selfish cunt. That's the part that's so... That's the insult to the injury. It's more like it's the injury to the insult. I mean, it's an insult to the people who do the extra, the people who take the risks, the people who do the right thing and it costs them. You've already insulted them by saying they're just part of some Jew conspiracy. But on top of that, you sit there and do the hard injury of sitting there and advocating to make more people making more messes that those people have to sacrifice their comfort to clean up. I mean, to defend people shitting on the floor, in the timeshare. That's all he's doing. He's giving people rational excuses to shit on the timeshare floor. The fucking piece of shit. Anyway. Alright, I did see Mike did go into the red a bit, so I probably have to turn down the gain a little, so maybe next time I'll pay more attention. But it should be an improvement. Should be a bigger improvement if I do it right. So, till next time, this is Inmendham. You probably already knew that. Saying good news and good night and such.